Okay, it's Monday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what we can find in this hive of scum and villainy. So I've been to the Overwatch University subreddit ahead of time and just scraped all the questions off the first couple pages, and we're going to answer them now while some footage of Dragon Ball FighterZ plays in the background, because it's a better game than Overwatch. And please do pretend whichever side won was me. Thank you. I apologize also for the complete lack of videos last week, except for one video, which is 5 videos under what it should have been for the week. I've been sick, and there was also an issue with one of our dogs, which ended up needing to have a major operation, so that was all very fun. So we'll try and get things back on track now this week. So, first up, what SR difference would there need to be for a 3v6 to win a team fight? Pretty fucking big is the answer. I mean, if you've got, like, Nanoblade, it might work out, you know. Nanoblade is worth a few heroes, League of Legends. You know, but even then, like, 2 of your heroes to do that, 2 of your 3 would have to be Genji and Ana. So, if the 3rd hero isn't, like, another DPS or tank, if it's just, like, Lucio, well, you're probably still not going to win the fight anyway. You're going to need a little bit more than that. So, the answer would be pretty fucking big. So, the first, like, real question. How to play Baptiste against a dive comp? So, anytime you're playing some, like, somebody that doesn't really like to be dove, you know, Baptiste, Ana, Zen, usually staying closer to your teammates will help you. The counter to dive is playing Death Ball, essentially. If you're playing Baptiste, something else you can specifically do is sit on the low ground next to the high ground, and then when the bad man jumps on you, you can use your extremely powerful knees to just hop up onto the high ground. Sorry, I just noticed that the camera wasn't aligned. I could see past the green screen. It was very upsetting. When the bad men jump on you, you jump to the high ground, and then they have to get up to you again, and then, you know, you can just repeat this infinitely, where they come up to meet you if they haven't used their abilities to get to you in the beginning. Then you jump down, alright? They come back down. They use their movement to get up. I jump down. Then, I jump back up again. Aha! And now, they probably can't use their movement abilities again. And even if for some reason they can, well, I can just jump down, charge my knees again, and then hop back up onto the high ground. Problem solved. They can't touch me. You might still get touched, but that's, like, Baptiste can specifically do that. You might consider saving your immortality field for a more selfish use, if they are just, like, hard diving you specifically. But, you know, you don't really want to be using, like, one of the main features of your hero entirely for self-preservation. Ideally, you would be using that to, you know, keep your teammates alive when they do the dumb shit that they will inevitably do. But Baptiste, he's got, you know, he's got options. The best one is hang out on the low ground next to the high ground, then just jump up. And if they can follow you, down and up again. And then hopefully during this just clown fiesta maneuver that's going on in the corner, like, somebody's gonna come over and help you at some point, you know, if, like, multiple members are diving on you. You'd hope anyway, but life can be awfully difficult sometimes. So, next up is how to deal with Mei as Reinhardt. So, you basically can't. You're going to need people to help you with this one. The only way you deal with Mei as Reinhardt by yourself is you pin Mei. Now, this is hard to do. Mei's got buttons she can push that kind of fucks you on this one, so that tends to not happen so much. So, ideally, you don't get walled off. If you do get walled off, endeavor to please not get walled off next time. It's always going to make life more difficult for you. Now, if you're playing on, like, a really choke point heavy map, like Hanamura, for example, you know, classic situation, Mei's just sat on the other side of the gate, and as soon as you walk through, bam, she puts the wall down, and you're fucked. Well, the way you deal with that is either change to a dive comp so you don't have to go through the choke point anymore, or you try and bait the wall out of her, which is just that you start walking through the choke point, and then at the point where you think she's going to wall you off, you backstep, and then you're on top of the wall instead of in front of the wall. Then you jump down, behind it, wall goes down, you all go in together while the wall is on cooldown. So you do something like that. Now, if you do get walled off, what usually happens is Mei starts running parallel to the wall, trying to freeze you. Mei's wall has a very interesting hitbox. What I have found frequently works, even though it doesn't ever really look like it should work, is if you just, like, back up, turn face her, and charge her as she's running in towards you, you, like, parallel to the wall still. You usually pin her against the fucking wall anyway, even though you were going parallel to it. And then you've dealt with the Mei situation, and you still might die, but at least you fucking killed Mei. Haha, we're all happy. Anyway, they almost always do that. You can usually pin them against their own wall. So it gives you some hope, as opposed to no hope if you do get walled off. So try not to get walled off. Now, if Mei's just coming at you, classic also, Mei's just running at you, that's where you just start shield hopping backwards, and you try and rotate with her to keep blocking the freeze so you don't get frozen, and that, like, you can stall it out for a surprisingly long time. The problem is that people do need to help you. Like, you're stalling it out with the hope that your teammates notice you're being bullied by Mei and come to help you with the Mei. You can't really stop her. You know, even if you got, like, Reaper on you, you can get some swings in, and you might get to drive the guy off. No such luck with Mei. She's gonna fucking freeze you as soon as you start trying to fight back, and at that point, it's all over. So you're really just hopping away from her, rotating with her, and trying to delay it long enough for your teammates to help you. Now, your teammates may never help you, of course, such is life sometimes, but this is your only hope. Really, like, you need your teammates to help you. You know, you can talk to your teammates as well and yell at them, please help, I'm being frozen by Mei, you know, and then when they inevitably don't help you, hey, that's okay, you can always blame them. If it's not my fault, I don't have to learn anything. It was their fault, okay? Yeah, that's like it. You can't deal with Mei by yourself as Reinhardt. The best you can do is stall it out, and if you're playing on, like, a choke point heavy map, try bait it out. If you can't bait it out, or it's just not working out, like, maybe you bait it out, and then your teammates can't capitalize on it afterwards anyway, like, you can't actually get through the choke point after you've baited it out anyway, just change to a different tank. Like, at that point, even if you don't change to, like, a dive comp, like, probably just playing somebody else, like Orisa, is gonna be more helpful at that point. Is the best you can do. So, next up is there such a thing as putting too much resources into stopping an opponent? It should be too many resources. I copy-pasted it, but that's not grammar. Anyway, yes, it is. I've seen situations where, like, the whole team changes compositions to counter the Widowmaker when, like, the Widowmaker wasn't even very good. She, like, wasn't really accomplishing anything. Like, you can't leave Widowmaker uncontested, but she doesn't, if she's bad, she doesn't warrant, like, 4 people changing to counter. Like, I've seen teams change to a dive comp to counter Widowmaker, and, like, their Widow isn't that good. Like, it wasn't necessary to, like, invest that heavily into this. I've seen comps completely shift to kill Pharah, just because, like, we're losing and there's a Pharah on the enemy team, so it must be Pharah's fault, even if it isn't. And then suddenly the team comp has become very bad, because suddenly it's changed into, like, Winston, Diva, Soldier, McCree, or some shit, and now so, well, just, like, walk in on their hit scans that are all by their lonesome, you know, shit like that happens. Yes, it is definitely possible to put too many resources into something. Like, the thing is that even if there's something, like, if you're genuinely getting completely bodied by the enemy Widowmaker, you know, then probably the one guy isn't going to be enough to counter them. You're going to need, like, a second person. But you still can't, like, completely cripple your team comp to change to counter the bad men, right? Like, your team comp still needs to be, like, cohesive and salient with itself. Like, it can't just suddenly be like hit scan DPS and divers or some shit. Like, it does need to still work by itself. You need to change within like what you have. You need to change to something that still works with the team and also counters the bad man. So like, supposing that you're playing, like, suppose we're playing like double shield hit scan boys, right? Like good old fashioned double shield bunker. And we're getting bodied by Genji, you know, so we don't want to suddenly change to like Winston, Mei, fucking McCree. We don't need to change like everything we have, right? We'll keep the double shields, right? We'll get the McCree. We'll see if the McCree is good enough to counter the Genji that's bodying us. If the McCree is not good enough to counter the guy that's bodying us, well, now we'll try, like, the Mei as well. Or, like, we'll change, like, Sigma into Winston if we really have to, right? Like, assuming Winston doesn't get, like, countered by their team or something, you know? You don't go, alright, Genji's bodying us, so Bridget, McCree, Mei, Winston, you know, like, some self-restraint is necessary. I have seen people, or teams, I should say, have this, like, knee-jerk reaction to say, we gotta deal with it, and suddenly everybody decides they need to deal with it, so the whole team just changes to this random hodgepodge of nonsense. Like, can't have that. It is possible to dump too many resources into countering somebody. And, like, sometimes the guy is, like, not that good. This is most commonly seen with, like, Widowmakers, where, like, Widow, or it has just this intrinsic tilting effect on the enemy team when Widowmaker does well. So, teams have a tendency to massively overreact to a Widowmaker on the enemy team. Pharah also has an intrinsic tilting effect as well, so these, like, Widow and Pharah are ones I usually see an excess of resources dumped into, but sometimes, you know, you do need to change, like, a few members, because, like, the Widow's, like, level 25 in Diamond situation. Yeah, it's probably a Smurf, you know. Your one man is probably not going to be able to deal with them, but, like, don't change the whole fucking team just to nonsense, you know. Try not to do that. Anyway, so, moving on now. How do I improve at Sombra if my teammates tilt the moment we lose a fight? This is going to be true frequently. What an anticlimactic ending. This is going to be frequently true for a few heroes. Sombra's one of them. You know, trying to get good at Widow, you're going to have this effect happen as well. You know, there's a few people like this. Tracer. The hard-to-play heroes that have a reputation, basically. So what I recommend doing is not interacting with the community at all. And then you can just focus on what you're doing. Because, I mean, the issue if you lose the team fight, if it's, like, not your fault, you know, but they're gonna blame you anyway, is the issue here. So, like, what I encourage you to do, if you're learning how to play a hero that is hard to play, is you don't join team chat. That's step number one. Don't bother, because the second things go badly, or even before, you're gonna be the one that gets blamed, and a lot of the time it's not even actually gonna be your fault. Just don't bother interacting with these people. If you're trying to improve at something, especially someone like Sombra, Sombra's hard to play, right? If you're trying to improve at someone like that, you're acknowledging that, like, you're gonna do badly on the hero, and you're gonna fuck it up a lot. And, you know, that's just part of the learning process. We're gonna have to go through this, you know. So, you know you're gonna do bad, you know you're gonna lose, and you know that's gonna tilt your teammates. Just don't interact with them. You still have to actually improve at this hero at the end of the day, right? Like, you're never going to get better at a hero if you constantly lose one fight and then change off of that hero. Like, you need to actually, like, get some experience on this hero, because... So, if we're in the situation where, like, we're only playing the hero when things work, right? We're not learning anything, are we? So, if, you know, we only continue to play Sombra assuming we win every single team fight, because the second we lose a team fight, it's our fault, right? So we're expected to change. If we do that every single game, every single team fight we lose, we're never actually going to get better at the hero, because we're only playing the hero in situations in which we're already winning, so we're not learning anything, are we? And this is true of all other heroes as well. If you're playing Widowmaker, and then, like, you lose the first team fight, change off of Widowmaker, well, okay, you got exactly 5 seconds of work in on a hero that will require weeks of effort to get good at, so, you know, that's not exactly very productive, is it? You know, there's that saying that the master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried, right? Or the novice has even tried. You gotta get some failure in here, unfortunately. So, just don't bother with the team chat. It's not worth the effort. Oh, but Sombra is such a teamwork-intense hero, I hear you saying. The thing is that you play around your team doesn't play around you, right? You don't expect 5 people to play around you, unless you're a Bastion player. In which case, shame on you. The team doesn't play around you, you play around your team. You can play around your team without being in team chat. So, it doesn't matter, okay? And then, they're gonna yell at you in text chat as well. Consider turning the text chat off as well. This is definitely worth doing if you're playing a hero like Widowmaker. Like, you know, it's not like Widow can play entirely by herself, but you don't exactly need to coordinate with your teammates really at all with Widowmaker, right? So if you're playing a hero like her, or like Ashe, Hanzo, you know, it's definitely worth also turning the text chat off. Consider also doing this as Sombra. And how do you do that? There's a keyboard shortcut for it that I didn't look at ahead of time. So let me HUD toggle. I'll tell you that right now so that you don't have to Google it as well. Let's see. You toggle it by... Nope, that's not the correct one. That's the entire HUD. We don't want to turn that one off. Text chat toggle. Not working. Please. How do you turn the text chat off? Apologies, I know. Oh god. Oh, hello, my son. Greetings. It is... See, there's a keyboard shortcut for it, but I'm being shown things to type into the chat instead, which is not exactly what I was going for. Oh, you just type in /hide chat, and that will hide the chat. There's a keyboard shortcut for it as well. What the fuck is the keyboard shortcut for this? I know, I'm sorry, this is incredibly engaging commentary. It's okay, you can watch this guy playing Goku GT, which is, you know, just extremely upsetting, frankly. Frankly? Yes, Come on. There's some... I've googled this before and found it. Control-Shift-C hides the text chat. There you go. So definitely hide the text chat if you're playing snipers, basically. And maybe also do it as Sombra. Sombra, you know, seeing the text chat can help you, but like... Again, you're gonna get a lot of shit talked at you, so probably just worth turning it off anyway. Like, here's the thing. People go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about the text, about team chat and all that. Here's the thing. It's not as big of a deal as people make it out to be, because I got to Masters never talking to another human being in my entire life, and I was playing Reinhardt for most of this, who some would claim voice chat is mandatory for. This runs against my own personal experience, so no, you don't need to do the voice chat. It's just that when people are losing, they look for something easy to blame that is not themselves, obviously, because if it's my fault, oh god, I might have to learn something, and I don't want that. Good heavens. So, people just immediately... do Beerus, fuck it. People immediately start looking for something to blame, and if they look and there aren't 6 people in the voice chat, that's a free blame right there. Fucking found the easy way out. Haha. So it's just the thing that's gonna get blamed because it's an easy target when you're losing. That isn't themselves, obviously. So anyway, just don't bother interacting with people if you're learning how to play a hard hero. It's not worth it. Just focus on improving yourself. You need to play in situations in which you're losing to actually, like, learn about the hero, really. You will never learn how to play a hero by only playing them in situations where you're already winning. You have to play them in situations that are difficult. So anyway, let's move on now. So next question is, how do you use Winston's ult? So I'm going to quote the top comment off of this, because this was very good. Dark Souls 03 said, personally, I like to jump ult, then jump again, so I can get back to the spawn ASAP to swap to Orisa. This was very funny. He did actually then put actual advice in his thread, by the way. That was, he put like a couple paragraphs in there, but I read it and went, haha, very funny. So I thought I'd share that one with you. So, I always just quote like the one guy who did this on stream. I think this was XQC. It was some guy who's better than me. Where the strat is, he drew this, so I'll also draw this, for demonstration, even though you probably get the idea. The strat was that this is going to be extremely distracting with this playing in the background, isn't it? We should probably pause the game. There we go. Well, what a fantastic post to end it. Kid Boo's just getting kicked right in the fucking mouth. Fuck that guy. I hate Kid Boo. Goddamn. So the trick is that you... So, hold on, I have to parse it in my head again. So you jump on the man, right? You ult, and you jump on him, you do all the things that you're gonna do. And you slap... This is not a good color, either, is it? Oh god, what a disaster. So, you jump on the man, you do your thing, you punch them as you're landing, all that, you know. So then you ult when you land, and then you punch the guy, and then you jump, and you follow him, you punch him in the air while you're following him, and then you land in front of him. Now, you wait when you land in front of him this time, right, because you're waiting for your jump cooldown. Then, when your jump cooldown is up, you punch him again so you can follow him afterwards. Because if you don't wait for your jump cooldown, you're going to punch him, but then you're not going to be able to follow him. You're going to have to wait for the cooldown. So you just land in front of him, wait, punch, then you can follow him and keep punching him in the air. And then when you land after that jump, the guy is probably dead. If he was a 200 health hero, he's dead. And he's very close after that point as well. But you could just keep repeating this if you have to, you know. So... that's, like, the strategy for killing someone. Other than that, like, sometimes you're in a position where you can just pin somebody in a corner and just fucking juggle them against the wall for a while. That's also sick, you know, but you need to be in a specific kind of situation for that, versus a specific kind of hero, one that can't get away from you. But that's always very fun. You know, ideally you just punch him straight off an edge. That's nice, very fun also. And sometimes... you're really only doing it just to kind of spread the enemy team out. Because sometimes, if they're playing like a deathball comp or something, like a bunker, sometimes all you necessarily have to do is just jump in, ult, and then just kind of spin around in the middle of them and just like punch them all in different directions. And then everybody's all spread out and hopefully your team can capitalize on their team that should be clumped together suddenly being very disparate and spread out, you know. These are, like, the ways to use his ultimate base, or the things to do. Like, ideally, you just get him in a corner, or punch him off the edge. Otherwise, you punch, you jump, ult, punch, follow, land, wait, punch, follow, punch, 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 guy's dead. Or just, like, disrupt them. Sometimes all you're really trying to do is disrupt them. Like, Winston's whole thing is disruption, so sometimes all you want to use your ult for is literally just fucking get the fuck out of here kind of stuff, you know, like... sometimes that's good enough, and that's basically it. Winston's ult doesn't have particularly incredible applications, but what I will tell you to do is if you get nano boosted by Ana, absolutely do not use your ultimate unless you're going to die. Winston, nano-boosted Primal Rage is extremely bad. It is better to be regular Winston than Primal Rage nano-boosted Winston, right? It's better to be regular Winston Primal Rage and just jump in and start tasing everybody. If you're going to die, alright, use Primal Rage. But if you got nano-boosted by Ana, hopefully you aren't going to die while that's happening, right? But if you do, if you think you're going to, then do still ult. But if everything's fine and you get nano-boosted by Ana, don't ult. Just jump in and start tasing them instead. That always very much upsets me when people do that. So anyway, that's basically it. So next up is, should I focus on a single role or multiple roles? With the introduction of role queue, there is absolutely... Why have we got two blank ones here suddenly? One of them is probably the fucking pen. Anyway, so with the introduction of role queue, there is no reason to focus on multiple roles unless you want to, for whatever reason. Oh, he got read like a fucking book. Holy shit. That was incredible. Yeah, if there's no reason to focus on multiple roles unless you just want to, for whatever reason. I fully recommend just focusing on whichever role you are personally drawn to. There has to be one that you prefer to the others. It's just one of these things where, like, if your options are hard focus on like a couple or one things, or spread it out across a bunch of things, you're gonna be better off just hard focusing on a few things or one thing, right? Like, you don't want to focus on like learning the entire like support role at once, right? Like, you pick a few supports and you focus on learning them at a time, right? You don't, because if you need to get like a lot of hours in on something to get like really good at it, right? So if you're playing like 3 roles and then you're playing a bunch of different characters in there, you're not really learning how to play any of these heroes because you're putting so little time in on any one of them, right? Like, with the way the game is, there isn't that much like overlap between a lot of the heroes, so like you do need to like everybody has really different play styles. You need to actually put hours in on heroes and roles to really get any tangible progress in there. If you feel like your progress in climbing or learning is slow, then, you know, look at like how many roles and heroes you're trying to play and just like think, am I trying to learn how to play like 5 heroes right now? Maybe trim that down to like 2 or 3 heroes, you know? Am I trying to play like 3 roles at once? Try and focus on one role at a time, you know? Learn that, focus on a few heroes in it. And then once you're like really comfortable playing those, if you want to branch out, by all means, you know, but try and focus on a few things at a time rather than a bunch of different things. Also true in like just making general progress. People have this thing where they're like, come into a game and they're like, I'm gonna get great positioning, game sense, ult execution. Don't worry about like all of this shit at once, right? Like, focus on one thing at a time. Like, think about, you know, how you play and try to identify your weaknesses. Do I die a lot because I get caught out of position? So spend a few games, like a lot of games really, but spend like a few games, like just like hard focusing on your positioning. Like, I'm gonna be thinking about this constantly. I'm not gonna get caught out at all. But you probably still will. I'm gonna try and not get caught out at all. I'm thinking about my positioning 24/7 during this game, right? And you do that for a few games and you just like hard focus on that. Don't come into a game being like, I'm gonna work on my positioning and game sense and ult execution. No. Focus on improving a few aspects, like one aspect of your game at a time. And then once you see improvement in that area, start branching out and doing the other ones, right? You focus on your positioning. All right, I feel like my positioning has gotten a lot more solid. Now I'm going to work on my ult execution, my game sense, you know, whatever the next aspect is you identify for yourself, right? Don't be thinking about everything all at once. Just focus on one aspect for like a few games at least, but probably like quite a lot of games. And then once you feel like you've improved in that area, you go on to the next one. You'll see much more dramatic improvement that way than thinking about, like, just, like, bogging yourself down with all this extraneous information that you're trying to worry about. There's, like, you know, there's always this thing where I say, you know, if I'm watching somebody play Soldier, I'll give them different advice depending on what SR they're in, because I don't want to bog someone down with extraneous information, right? I always say Soldier, because Soldier has this thing where you can do an animation cancel, where he puts the ammo in the gun, and the gun cocks, but the whole thing, like, once he's put the clip in the gun, he's finished reloading. The cocking animation is unnecessary. And you can cancel the reload with any of his abilities, including sprint. So, if the guy's in, like, plat, I'll be looking at that and go, like, alright, so you should try and animation cancel the reload, because at that point, they should be worrying about that. You know, once you're in plat, you've, like, you've dealt with, like, a lot of the major issues. We're trying to work on more, like, refinement and optimization at that point, you know? But if I'm watching a guy in bronze play Soldier, I'm not gonna tell him to worry about this. I'll probably not even mention it. I might mention it just for, like, when you know, just be aware you can do this, but don't worry about it right now. The reason I don't mention it, though, is I don't want to bog this guy down, right? Like, he should be worried, if he's in bronze, what he should be worrying about is his positioning and his execution and all this, right? He should not be worrying about animation canceling his reload on Soldier, because this is something that is optimization, and I don't want him worrying about that. I don't want him, while he's thinking about his positioning and everything, and like alt tracking and all that, while he's doing all that, I don't want him to be watching the barrel of his gun trying to cancel it, right? And then messing it up and having to repeat the whole reload, right? You don't tell someone like that in low SR. You wait till they're higher up to mention this advice to them. So don't, like, bog yourself down with a bunch of extra shit, right? Just big picture, you know, I could be worrying about all of these micro improvements I could be making, or I could get really good at positioning, you know. That's probably more important than worrying about, like, animation canceling your reload, you know. Anyway, so, yeah. Original question, just focus on a single role. There's no reason to focus on multiple unless you really want to, for some reason, but I don't recommend it. And then next up, and this is the last question for this week, is when should I switch off of Zarya? So there's, like, two real reasons that you would switch off of Zarya. We'll assume you're playing Zarya in, like, a reasonable situation, right? Like, you're not playing Zarya with Roadhog or something, right? You're playing Zarya with a main tank. There's, like, two reasons to do it. First one, you're hardly ever high charge, and if you are high charge, you're not able to maintain it for any length of time, right? Because that means either the enemy team is playing around you really well, Zarya doesn't work against the comp, or you're just having a bad Zarya game, right? So, if you just can't build any charge and you can't maintain it, that's a reason to switch. The other reason to switch is I'm constantly high charge, but we're still losing. Because if you're constantly high charge, then you're playing Zarya well in the game, but if you're still losing anyway, that means something else is not working. And it might just be that Zarya isn't good for your comp or versus their comp, right? Or it just might mean that, like, you just need something else in this specific situation. Like, it might work comp-wise, but, like, you being high charge Zarya is not as impactful as just, like, you changing to, like, Roadhog and countering their Doomfist or something, right? Like, Zarya is not going to counter a Doomfist as well, even if she is high charge. So, like, something like that might be more impactful. So, like, these are, like, the two main reasons to change off of Zarya. You can't get anything going at all, or you're going constantly on all cylinders, but you're losing anyway. Because if you're high charge the entire game, right, and you're still losing, something else is happening, and you're going to need to address that. And the answer to that might be you need to change off of Zarya. Now, it just might be that you still need to adjust your playstyle, like you might be playing too aggressively, and you're not spending enough time peeling for your team, so they're getting killed behind you. It might be something like that. So it might still be a gameplay adjustment, but it might also be Zarya, right? So in that situation, you still need to look at the game and go like, alright, high charge, still losing. why, right? And then consider it. So that's like the two reasons to change off of Zarya, basically. And like, you know, what the correct change at that point is gonna vary a lot from game to game, so I can't really tell you, but like, if like one of those two things is happening, then you should consider changing off of Zarya. It might be a playstyle adjustment that you need to make, it might not need to be a hero swap, but that is definitely the point you should start thinking about it. There you go, that's the last question for this week, so we gotta wait for this game to finish. Doesn't look like it's gonna take too much longer. Roke, whatever, is not having a good day. Toilet humor, which is obviously me, because it's the person that's going to win. Thank you, yes. He's absolutely rinsing him, and right now he's just waiting for him to super dash in so he could punch the shit out of him with Gohan's DP, Dragon Punch, sorry. Invincible startup anti-air move. You shouldn't drop the lingo on people that probably don't have a fucking clue what you're talking about. Was that the last video in the chain as well? Oh, how perfect was that? Absolutely incredible. So, thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them. Or just shitpost with us. Hopefully we can get things back on schedule this week. That's the goal anyway, because last week was a disaster. Try and get back on schedule. If you like the video, somehow made it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future, and I hope you found the video helpful.